Hey guys, it's Matt. This video is about addressing a comment that was left on the last video, and I'm sure it will be extremely important that I address this to anybody that has invested their time here with us here at this channel. Now, the comment that I'm about to address, it didn't have to do with the topic of the last video, but nevertheless extremely important, with the topic of the last video being how Plato's allegory of the cave potentially relates to how we are told to view a total eclipse via a constructed shoebox or serial box viewer, in which, or as one participates in viewing the totality in the shoebox viewer, one is actually participating in Plato's allegory of the cave, and how that might not be a coincidence in how this reality kind of presents itself. The comment wasn't about that, something far more important. Why do I hate Matt Damon to such a degree? Why do I, and many of you I'm sure are like, yeah, why do you always talk about Matt Damon? I want to hear this. Out with it. Why do you pick on Matt Damon? And it is time to finally address this. Now, I'm not going to mention who left the comment. I don't like the way they left the comment or the way it was kind of posited to me, but this is a nice person. I've seen this person before. I don't think anything nefarious was intended. This is a friend of the channel, so no reason to go focus on who left the comment. And it does need to be addressed probably finally, and we'll have a little fun with this if you want to stick with me. Now, again, you'll see why I don't like exactly the way the comment was presented. There are three main elements. If I remember it correctly, I'll get it close in terms of how I paraphrase it. The first part was, and if it wasn't for this first part, I probably wouldn't be talking about it anyway. It was kind of funny. So the only thing, Matt, the only thing that gets me to question your sanity is two things. One, your over-the-top obsession with movies, and two, why you hate Matt Damon. And there's issues with all three parts there, but first part, the only thing that gets you to question my sanity are those two things? All the weird shit that I've presented on this channel, trying to tie connections between Plato's allegory of the cave and how they tell us to look at the totality of a solar eclipse. John McEnroe, you cannot be serious, yelling at a lineman, saying that's an ode to their astrology. Weird shit like that. But it's actually, as I'm thinking about it, I kind of took it the wrong way. The person's probably paying me a compliment. Of all the weird shit I presented, that's all accepted. The only thing that gets him to question my sanity is, one, my over-the-top obsession with movies. I want to address that. And my hatred of Matt Damon. Now, I don't hate Matt Damon, all right? I use Matt Damon as a way to get back at Hollywood. Now, I was going to say, it's easier to attack Matt Damon as a representation of all that I don't like about Hollywood. And it is true, I think this person actually pointed this out in the comment. Matt Damon isn't even aware of you or your channel either. I know that, obviously. I don't think he's behind the back of his agent running to look up what Matt is saying about him on this YouTube channel. But see, Hollywood, it's a vague thing. If you pick on Matt Damon, is probably something that really exists. I say probably, but something, it's more real, it's more concrete. And you can pick on Matt Damon as a way of picking on Hollywood in general, or voicing your complaints with Hollywood in general. But at the very lower level of it, Matt Damon, in many respects, deserves to be picked on for a lot of reasons. But he does play himself, all right? You don't see me picking on Meryl Streep, or I don't, these could be much darker figures than Matt Damon, a Glenn Close, or, many more Eyes Wide Shut parties, just darker figures that run and hang out with Gaga and things like. Maybe Matt Damon is relatively normal of those that run under the dragon's wing. But I'm still not going to pick on Meryl Streep or something that when you watch her act, you don't see Meryl Streep, you see the character she's playing. This is the most basic definition of what separates an actor from somebody that would struggle to get a part in their 8th grade play. Glenn Close playing that bitchy, royalty and dangerous liaisons, just playing with people's lives with John Malkovich, whatever, the Countess or whatever her title was. Yeah, you see Glenn Close, but ultimately the role takes over. Tom Hanks, and nobody is creepier in terms of the role they play for this system than Tom Hanks. But eventually you see Forrest Gump. You don't see Tom Hanks anymore. Cuba, my best example of this is Cuba Gooding Jr. in radio. It is really strange to see. It's almost uncomfortable when you watch radio for the first time, seeing Cuba Gooding. But after 20 minutes, you see radio. You don't see Cuba Gooding Jr. That's acting. That is what I call acting. You don't see but Matt Damon, we'll do it one more time. Matt, you ain't going to do this. Isn't the last time you're going to do it. I agree. You're right. It's not going to be last time. You don't see the character. I don't even know the names of the character he's playing. You see Matt Damon. That's all he's able to do. Even in The Great Wall that I just watched. So, guys, look. The three elements. I'll reserve the back end why I don't hate Matt Damon. I use Matt Damon to voice a series of gripes that I have in general about Hollywood that we all have. But first part, I hope after this presentation the person will no longer question my sanity. If my sanity was going to be questioned, it should have been because of the weird shit that I talked about for the last almost 10 years. Well, all of these things I haven't been talking about for the last 10 years, but let's just say the last 3 or 4 years, about how reality itself acts as if it's alive. There's some sort of screen presentation here where you can't actually find the bad guy or point at the bad guy. The overarching bad guy works itself into this reality through its minions, of which its minions in many cases, or in most cases, don't even understand the role that the minion is playing on behalf of the dark reality that's trying to do something to a human being. I mean, that would be the weird shit that you'd want to use to question my sanity. But we'll leave, again, that's maybe a compliment. So we'll do the middle portion just in a minute or two. I don't have what did he say, an obsession with movies, or he make it seem like as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm just going to go downstairs and I have this mountain of DVD tapes. I'm just going to watch one after the other. And if I don't have all of Shallow Hal, Once a Gal memorized I'm going to watch it for the 100th time, so I get everything memorized, like the beginning of Romeo and Juliet. This is the way my mind works. 2 households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. Before the fatal loins of these 2 foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows, doth with their deaths bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of the death-marked love and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but only death could remove, is now the 2-hour traffic of our stage. Now, I put a little effort at some point into trying to I knew certain parts and I went, which only their death could remove. There's certain parts I had to go back and memorize, but that's generally, I can't just rattle off Shallow Hal, but that's how my mind works. I don't understand math. Most brains, you're a verbal, literary person on the verbal side of the SATs, or you're on the math side. If it's not 2 + 2 = 4, I don't understand the math. Oh, did I struggle in high school and college with the algebra and calculus. I could get the answer if I studied the steps, just rote memorization. I had no idea what I was doing when I was, through memorization trying to find the answer just to get through the damn class. My brain doesn't work that way. Dylan sent me an email about how he worked something out regarding the golden ratio, and I was like, sorry, dude. I don't mean to, you spend a lot of time on this. I don't mean to offend you. It just doesn't register with me. So I don't have a obsession with movies. I watch a movie at night, probably one a day. I study dark reality 7 days a week, or what the reality through its minion is attempting to do to a human being, and it's very taxing. And a movie is a release to me, with an IPA beer. And then I can only drink one of them, but then I'll have a light beer after that. It's a release. I don't go out and do anything. I don't go do raves on Friday or Saturday nights. I don't do squat. You've produced exactly squat, Agent Utah. I don't do anything. This is my release. So my mind is set up to remember certain things. And I have seen some movies more than once. So let's get that out of the way. I don't have an obsession with movies. I can't wait to run downstairs and find my mountain of VCR tapes and start loading the VCR. The last part, the most important part in this video, and I'm sure many of you are like, yeah, let's get to the Matt Damon thing. Why? First off, okay, the very basics. Always start with the very basics. There's a whole lot, of course, that we don't like about Hollywood. Anybody in our community. we see what it's intended to do to the masses on behalf of the screen or on behalf of reality itself. Mind control, of course, getting someone to believe that what this reality or 3D material plane of existence defines as success is what people ultimately take into themselves and becomes their personal, their own definition of success. And the best example of that is Will Smith it's called, played Chris Gardner, The Pursuit of Happiness. I'll talk about that in a moment. But we don't need to go through the laundry list of all Hollywood is out to do to the masses regarding mind control at every level. I mean, we wonder why these people around us are so lost, why they see nothing. Lost, the TV series, and what they found out at the very end. We struggle with this, but they're bombarded. These people, they have Hollywood, the subliminals in movies. What movies are telling them is what's best in life. Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of the women. What the others say? Yeah, the guys say, Daesh, what is best in life? To have the wind in your hair. Sorry. See, just, it's just how my brain works. Sorry. This channel might not be for you if you want to stay sane. So what I was saying was, we all know basically what Hollywood is out to do to a human being, and people, we get on them for being so lost, but they're surrounded on all sides. They have Hollywood, they have TV, and then they pick up their smartphone, of which they're basically almost trying to merge with their smartphone. Pam can't go to lunch. She just picks it up. Oh, picks it. Put the phone down. I have a 12-year-old flip phone. Barely gets texts anymore, but I still can I only keep it for one reason. When I go to get on websites or whatever, they send me a text, some code, so I could get into double check, or I have to double check to get into my stuff. Luckily, I can still get a text. But this stuff is rewiring people's brains. We probably shouldn't get on them. I mean, imagine the children of today, how we thought it's difficult for us to overcome, to see what this world is out to do to us and to human beings. I mean, imagine how difficult it will be for the teenagers of today. So anyway, guys, I can't pick on Hollywood in a vague sense. I have to pick my whipping boy. I pick Matt Damon. Okay. Now, let me give him some credit. He doesn't, just based on gut feeling and instinct, he doesn't seem to be as dark as some of these other creepy figures that run around Hollywood. Is he under the dragon's wing? Of course. Has he been to a few Eyes Wide Shut parties? Probably. Of course. Okay. But in terms of the creepy level, in terms of what you get a sense, like, if you could, I don't see auras. I have come across people that do see auras. I think his would be a little bit less malignant or a little more benign than a Lady Gaga, for example. How dark something like that is. I don't even know what the Hollywood equivalent would be to Lady Gaga. There might not be one. I don't want to speculate in terms. I was going to throw out some names, but most people would agree that you're probably saying, yeah, Matt Damon seems like he's under the dragon's wing, but is he dark as Gaga? No. So in that regard, I'll give him a little bit of credit there, but he is under the dragon's wing. I don't believe he does. One of the main reasons, first of all, they all deserve to be picked on because of the choices they made in terms of going in and supporting a system that ultimately is out to corrupt a human being. Just for that, and well, Matt, they don't know what they do. You've been in it long enough, you should probably understand at some point what's going on. And it's not about the fame and the women or whatever you prefer, not that there's anything wrong with that, or the money anymore. At some point, you try to move away a little bit if you realize you're under the dragon's wing. And he hasn't attempted to move away or anything like that. There's not too many people of those that gain the fame and then just try to move away enough where they're not a target of the system, but they're just not, they avoid a few Eyes Wide Shut parties that they no longer want to be invited to. So he seems like a middle of the road figure. All right. But nevertheless, We all make choices. He could have chosen to get out, but he continues to be a complete puppet of the system. And there's no better example of that than we'll get to how he plays himself. I mean, as an actor, he's not even presenting himself normally because he's just playing himself. But the Great Wall, okay, and I guess there's no reason for me to do a separate video making fun of the Great Wall when we can make fun of it right now. Another thing where Matt Damon is just a puppet. The Great Wall to me is some sort of bow down or ass kissing of China. You know, I use the word ode a lot. I don't know if that's the right definition, but I'm going to keep using it the way I use it, an ode to China, where I'd say the system created this movie, maybe like the gods of Egypt, as an ode to themselves or to the heritage that they want to connect themselves with. Gods of Egypt is absolutely horrible. There's a reason that movie was made. It had to be made for some reason. But as I was watching it, I just went, I don't have the mental fortitude here tonight to watch this for truth drops. I'm just going to watch it for fun. And there's some fun scenes, but it is pretty awful. Gods of Egypt. But you put Gerard Butler in there, the guy that played Jaime Lannister coming off Games of Thrones, and pretty big high-tech budget regarding special effects. And to put something that bad out, you're like, well, I was talking to Greg about it, and we were like, well, it could be that bad so nobody sees it, but they have to put something. It had to be put out. Something is there in Gods of Egypt that had to be put out. But I probably, even if I had complete faculties the evening I watched it, I wouldn't be able to interpret exactly what they're trying to put out there. But, so Matt Damon in Great Wall, it's an ass-kissing of China, in my opinion. Just as that segment in another, how these themes carry forth through certain actors. The truth theme that comes through Lawrence Fishburne movies it's tremendous truth drops in most Lawrence Fishburne movies, and the themes are very similar as well. So it's interesting in Matt Damon, one of the worst movies of all time, The Martian. You have, was it China Saves the Day, right? They couldn't get the spaceship back, but China's going to step up, and their space agency is going to save the dumbass Westerners. You dumbasses! The Westerners are portrayed, as in the Chinese are going to step up and save everything, and it's that times 100 in Great Wall. Great Wall, it's some sort of ass kissing to the Chinese, but it could be more basic than that. It could be a Chinese billionaire just said, you know what, you want me to do this deal, that deal, this deal, here's what you need to do. You need to get Matt Damon, get your whipping boy in here, make this movie. And, it could be just at the behest of a Chinese billionaire. But nevertheless, let me get to the point. I'm sorry for being long-winded. Matt Damon and his partner, they're looking to steal black powder or to trade in black powder to get black powder, the precursor to TNT, back to the West. They come across the Great Wall for the first time. That's how it's presented, as Westerners. Now, even in the movie, they say they stink, they smell, they're cut up, they're bedraggled. And they come upon this beautiful Chinese army that's on the Great Wall. Their armor is impeccable. The people are presented as beautiful people. The women are gorgeous. The men are handsome. The armor is impeccable. The archers are in red armor. The certain class they're in blue, and they're in yellow and different colors, and their technology is incredible. Matt Damon, have you ever seen anything like this? How they have this type of armament. So it's a superiority presentation for China, and it's on purpose as far as, it is an ass kissing to China. So to me, that's why in some way that's why that movie was made. Now, Matt Damon is a great fighter and a great archer. There'd be no movie because it's about these demonic lizard creatures coming to attack the Great Wall, and the Great Wall being built to keep these creatures out, not an invading army. And the creatures, the CGI, the way these creatures are presented, it's just, I'm sorry, for 2020, it's lame. Starship Troopers will give you a break on that CGI 25 years ago, but it's not worth watching. It was actually not as bad as I thought it would be. But within the first 20 minutes, I went, this is an ass kissing to China. If I say that again, this video might not make it out. It could be banned, Didn't they? We had First Amendment here. We could say what we want as long as we don't yell something in a crowded movie house. Well, that don't exist no more, son. Nope, that don't exist no more. So Matt Damon, he actually, I swear to you, where we talk about the biggest problem with Matt Damon, and guys, I don't know if I mentioned about the holding the microphone. I need to get a headset for the new Mac. The old headset is such crap. I hope this is going okay. I'm going to get a headset as soon as I can. I swear, in terms of how we say, or I'm sure you guys would agree because I've seen your comments, that Matt Damon plays himself. They did something to his voice. They have the technology. Deep fake, they could make him look like anything. They hold some of this technology back. In my opinion, they did something to his voice. It doesn't sound like Matt Damon. And you get the sense when you first start watching like this, oh, he's finally acting. I think they did something, and you know how easily the technology where they could do that. A little inflection, he seems more serious, more like a warrior. They did something to his voice because they know it's just Matt Damon coming up to the Great Wall. Like, who's coming up here? Will Hunting? Will Hunting? Go back to your Harvard bar. You know, that's what the movie would evolve into. So they change his voice, and they also, I swear, they change his eyebrows a bit, or they make him look more kung fu. My avatar for YouTube is my favorite kung fu movie, the Five Deadly Venoms. I don't know, it was like 1978 kung fu movie. These actors they weren't even known anymore by their name. They were just called the Venoms because they were in this cool. My avatar is the scorpion. Yeah, the number one, the scorpion. And the point is, when these kung fu actors would make movies, they would always every time they'd shave the eyebrows, and they would paint eyebrows up into a V to make them more menacing looking. Greg described it as like the way they made Ming the Merciless to a degree look in Flash Gordon. They paint the eyebrows. And although there's many scenes where in Great Wall where Matt Damon looks like he has the same eyebrows, there's some scenes where the eyebrows go, and they're doing that with a deep fake CGI with his eyebrows to make him look like, you know, the toad in the number 5 of the Deadly Venoms. So they do that to him. There's a little bit of deep fake going on. It's just, if it was just him acting as if they were shooting it 20 some years ago, it would just be Matt Damon approaching the damn Wall of China. So in that regard, I was fooled initially, and I went, he's actually not playing himself. And I went, no, they're doing things to his look to a degree. They're changing his voice to a degree. But any actor, you know, even if I have no beef with Hollywood, any actor that's just playing themselves, that you know, even when I was in a play in elementary school and I tried to act outside myself, I mean, he just deserves to be picked on. So it's also funny, guys. If there's a running theme of Matt Damon, it wouldn't be as funny if I just jumped all over the place. I'm going to pick on Chris Rock today. It's not as funny. I don't know. Just I know what I was actually. One thing I was going to talk about that I didn't get a chance to, I just remembered, was the Will Smith movie. Just how Hollywood does business on so many levels. So many things hit your subconscious or subliminal, unconscious mind. Subliminals, messages that get to deep inner parts of you that you're not even consciously aware of. And one of the most blatant examples is Will Smith in. He plays Chris Gardner in The Pursuit of Happiness. Now, you go into the movie. First of all, it's a pretty good movie. The movies they've made recently are so bad that you go back to A Pursuit of Happiness and it looks like an Academy Award winner. But you know, you go in, everybody knows it's called The Pursuit of Happiness. You know, we take things out on the conscious level, and there's a lot more going on the deeper levels inside the human psyche, subconscious, unconscious, however you draw the line, whatever you call mind. So this is about the pursuit of happiness. Then you see the struggles Will Smith has, and he becomes homeless, and it's the first movie that his kid has been in. And then to make a long story short, if you haven't seen it and want to see it, just come back in 30 seconds. He's homeless. He gets a Dean Witter internship where he's not paid. The stock company eventually is awarded the full-time job, starts at the entry level, and ultimately they say he becomes a multi-millionaire. They say it's a real story about a real person, this Chris Gardner. But the audience goes out of the movie thinking, oh, this is the pursuit of happiness. There's no greater level of happiness a lifetime can deliver than a man who was once homeless. He's now worth whatever, hundreds of millions of dollars in the end, based on hard work and maybe a few breaks. I mean, that's all that matters. That's all that matters to anybody. Achieving that level of the successful meter has been fully it's been hit by Chris Gardner, a 10 out of 10, because all that matters, the way the reality measures success, is material wealth, and how if you came out of your life on the other end a rich person. That's people walk out of the theater. That's the pursuit of happiness. When the pursuit of happiness in terms of this life or this incarnation is 179.5 degrees away from what they're presenting there. It has nothing to do with going from rags to riches, or the way Hollywood presents some Cinderella scrubbing floors, and then now with the prince now, or this woman was nothing and now she's discovered to be a princess. That's how the reality defines success, and that's what Hollywood does. And of course, other forms of media, even books and legends and fairy tales, have done this as well. Maybe that's why a lot of them are carried through time. But in terms of finding and understanding yourself, or what this life is for, that is the pursuit of happiness, that has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. As I've said, if somebody knock on my door, someone say, "I'll give you $1 billion." Now, if I said, "Can I use that $1 billion to try to completely shake the American populace out of its sleep? I can put up hundreds of billboards questioning reality." I would take it if I could then work with it. They said, "No, you can't do anything like that with it, but you can do what you want with it in terms of things that you would call, like, the system would like you to do. You could buy Lear jets, you could buy vacation homes in Rio de Janeiro. And I would say I wouldn't take it. And trust me, I wouldn't take it. It just leads, the truth drop, Pete Diddy or whatever his name is that week, Diddy or Dally or Puff, whatever, Puff the Magic Dragon. He says, more money, more problems. More money, more problems. Absolutely. Came back for a couple other reasons I don't like Matt Damon. I should turn this into like a 24-hour filibuster marathon of all the reasons I don't like, or we don't like, Matt Damon. I can't put words in your mouth. Maybe you like him. But let's look at this. I don't buy the whole story about the Good Will Hunting story with Ben Affleck. I just don't buy it. The story of two young gentlemen from Southie in Boston presented a script, and Matt Damon worked with Ben Affleck to write Good Will Hunting, and it was it's this rags to riches story they have to present, that anybody can, if you write the right script, anybody can present that to the right person at Hollywood, and then have their great movie narrative introduced, and they can become famous. It's just, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. It's rags to riches. It's anybody can get to the top if they, put in the work. And, you could call that overly negative, jaded. And what evidence do you have, Matt, that didn't really happen? The Ben Affleck and Matt Damon story of submitting their Good Will Hunting, just same with Sylvester Stallone. He just was poor as dirt, and he just wrote Rocky. Look, has this ever happened? First of all, I'm not basing on anything but gut feeling. I haven't researched it. Where am I going to research it? Google? I mean, what is it going to tell me? It's going to tell me the official story. I could go walk the streets of Southie and try to knock on doors and find people oh yeah, I knew Matt as a boy. He played stickball out here, and try to put the pieces together the way Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones try to put the pieces together about Doc Graham when they went to that little town. Every town in America has a Doc Graham. Like, I'm not going to do it. It's just my gut feeling. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't think most of you buy it. It gives the American people the impression that, anybody can get ahead. To me, it's connections. Is it always bloodlines? I don't know. But is that a factor in this world? Yes, but I don't buy the basic story. How Matt Damon and Ben Affleck came to be, were they just chosen to play a role? I don't know. Let's just keep it at the basic level. I don't buy it, based on nothing but gut feeling and intuition. Well, Matt, if you don't have any research, that's not good enough. It is for me. So let's go to another meter, the thing I don't like about Matt Damon, the sellout meter. Now, if anybody's screaming out in the night, I hear you. They're all sellouts to a degree. once they realize what this industry is, what it's for, what it's all about. I hear you. But there's more that go higher up the meter. Let me give you an example, and I think most of you would agree with this. At the top of the meter, 10 out of 10 on the sellout meter, is Mark Wahlberg to me. Now, what does that mean? First off, if you play that role, he played that police officer, I believe, during a certain thing that went down. Also in close to the neighborhoods of Southie, where Goodwill Huntington, Matt Boston. Remember Mark Wahlberg. Oh, by the way, and this is with me even forgetting about the role he played in when he filled out his 7-Eleven job application. The role he played with Seth MacFarlane. I was going to be on. I was scheduled to be on that plane, and I missed it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, right. Yeah, I missed it. He just missed it. Yeah, but he's 10 out of 10 on the sellout meter, and I was thinking that even before I forgot about the Boston, the way Nick Cage played a Port Authority police officer. You know, was he in control of the canine unit that had the canine dog Sirius? The only canine unit dog that passed on that day. So, but in terms of Marky Mark is just there to play, you know, the opposite of his own man. I mean, he'll just like Matt Damon seemed to do with the Great Wall. You know, Matt, we need you to go out to the Great Wall, and I don't think it was filmed there, but we need you to play this role. We're going to make China look really good, and Marky Mark's the same way. And you want to talk about somebody screaming out at me, I can hear you playing himself. I mean, maybe we have somebody that's now eclipsed Matt Damon in terms of playing himself. I had to stop and look up the Mark Wahlberg filmography just so I don't miss anything here where he had a role like, for example, you know, Jack Nicholson's difference in his ability to act between Colonel Jessup and the role he played in The Shining. It's still Jack Nicholson, but he can mold himself into the character. Of course, that's what makes good acting. Let's look at Marky Mark. Ted with the stuffed bear, played himself. Shooter, oh, absolutely, just himself. Pain and Gain with the Rock, just plays himself. He's just all about. He acts behind his biceps. His biceps do more script acting than he does. Let's see, Lone Survivor, played himself. Transformers, that was the absolute worst Transformers movie. Two Transformers movie, they're both horrible. Played himself. Here it is, Patriots Day. Now I'm going to give him credit in one role, Deepwater Horizon, not this one, Deepwater Horizon, played himself. Boogie Nights, you know what? You actually started to not see Mark Wahlberg. You start to just see a dumbass Dirk Diggler or Chest Rockwell or whatever names they took on as some, you know, he's just gonna, you know, I'd like to thank everybody. I'm gonna keep rocking and rolling. And some people think this occupation's dirty. It's like that. Okay, he was decent in that. He was decent, but it's like Matt, he was decent because he's just like he was actually playing a role like dumber than himself. And it was decent. It was decent. The little agent, the agent in The Departed, Leo DiCaprio he's a real actor. All right, say what you want about him, he can act. He carried that movie, The Departed. The Marky Mark role being the agent he was liaisoning with, just playing himself. The Italian Job, played with himself. Look at these movies. I mean, Planet of the Apes, Two Guns. I'm trying to look for any movie here. The Perfect Storm was on that ship, played himself. I'm looking for any movie where he didn't. Three Kings. And the closest one, I would say, I'm probably missing one, I haven't seen them all, of course, is Dirk did when he played Boogie Nights, which had, you know, he did a good job with that. I wouldn't. One of the great ways of determining if an actor did a good job, or to me, the top standard is, would you put anybody else or choose to put anybody else in that role? Oh, Invincible, about Vince Papale, the Eagles movie from the 70s, is well done. It gives you a sense of what Eagles fans were in South Philly in the late 70s. Absolutely is well done, but played himself. It's pretty good though. Invincible. It is pretty accurate. That's the way the Eagles. That is an Eagles fan in the late '70s, no doubt about it. That is accurate. But the standard is, would you put anybody else in the role? And the best example of that is Forrest Gump, of course. Can anybody pick, whether you like the movie or not, can anybody pick anybody you would put in there over Tom Hanks to play? Oh, I think, Matt, this actor would have been better at Forrest Gump. No. And I know people are screaming at me saying, well, Matt, that's because you've seen the role so many times, it would just be odd to put anyone else in. It doesn't always work that way. Like Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man, it doesn't always work that way. I'll think of a movie where if you put another actor in, absolutely would be way better. I'll think of it and come back to you. But for Boogie Nights, you could put some people in there, but it wouldn't be as good. So I'll give him credit there. But enough about Wahlberg. Just the biggest on all these sellout meters, and he takes Matt Damon to a whole new low. We'll keep picking on Matt Damon because this guy's on Wahlberg is he's unpalatable to even talk about. I'll come back and close it out, guys, with a few more things in a moment. Now, when you talk about a certain role where you wouldn't replace the actor or actress, can you say actress? Is that I don't think that's politically correct anymore, but that's what I prefer. I guess you can't do that anymore. That's hurtful or something, but we'll stick to that. When you can't replace them, and that is common for any good acting job, because I agree, if somebody's yelling at me, you get used to them in the role and you don't want to replace them. But there are more movies than you think where you could easily replace, and you preferably want to replace the actor or actress, if you can still say that and that's not hurtful. It might be. This video might be in jeopardy because I said actress. The best example where you just simply cannot, other than Forrest Gump, that would be number one, but this would be a close number one or number two. And I don't like this individual at all, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction as Jules, is it? Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction. He's nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Didn't get it. It was Ed Wood, Martin Landau, I think, playing Bela Lugosi. Got it for Ed Wood. Really? Say what again? Say what again? I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? That's the best. That when you see that for the first time, you're scared of this guy. It's intimidating. Sorry, guys. Long-haired cats. Oh God, where does this stuff come from? It's on the microphone. It's everywhere. But you would not replace the Jules character with anybody. Okay, now, on the other end of the spectrum, look at the new Star Wars. Look at these useless deadwood characters. Let's do even the names. They couldn't even name them anything exciting because the whole Star Wars presentation is a fraudulent presentation, actually trying to put out something bad and saying we did the best we could, when it's obviously they didn't do the best they could. They tried to make it bad. You have Poe, Ray, Mi, Fa, Sol, La. What's the other guy's name? Poe, I think, is that, I don't know, he's a white guy actor. He's horrible. You could take him out of any movie, put anybody else in. He's a replaceable actor. He's creepily connected, that guy. He was in Deuce X and some other things. I forget his name. I don't want to know his name. Please don't waste a comment on that guy. Poe? Yeah, that's Poe. Ray, Mi. Ray is the girl. And just, again, it's like you could insert a piece of sandpaper. Has no cute face, a cute little girl, but she creates no love for her character, just a complete, these people could be complete NPCs. There's no spirit or warmth that flows out of these people. And the white guy, the girl, the black guy, the stormtrooper. I don't know his name. In the movie. But he was just as weak and just as easily replaceable. Now, these characters, of course, for Matt, if you think you're going to make that stinker of a movie like The Force Awakens any better if you put anybody in, I agree. They're made to be bad on purpose. But yeah, almost anybody would be better than these people. You could throw a dart. In Top Gun, even, you've seen it so many times, you'd say these actors are not replaceable. Tom Cruise is not replaceable. He can act, no doubt about it. Tom Cruise can act, even though there's a lot of himself that comes out, no doubt. A lot of himself comes out in movies, and he has running themes. I don't know if it's a personal theme with him. He has in at least 10 movies where it's, do we understand each other? I don't know if you guys ever noticed this. It's from Risky Business, the Guido, the killer pimp. Do we understand each other? Yeah, I got it. No, do we understand each other? All right. This theme, Tom Cruise has weaved through his movies the way Schwarzenegger has with "I'll be back," but it's not. It's a Mandela effect. He says it completely clearly now. "I'll be back." I mean, the Terminator leads into the police station. Police officer behind the glass. He's, "I'll be back." It's not quite like that, but I swear, this is a Mandela effect for me. It used to be like, "I'll be back." It was a mess. And there's a meme, that still exists, where you watch it now. He just clearly says, he doesn't say, "I'll be back." He doesn't say that, but it's clearly, "I'll be back," without any sort of whatever. So, replacing Schwarzenegger with the Terminator, that'd be tough. But I was going to say about Top Gun, Tom Cruise irreplaceable, but the Iceman, Val Kilmer, completely replaceable. You'd be like, no, come on, the ice, because you've seen it so many times. This is one where that is the Iceman. And Val Kilmer, in terms of stories as to how he is on set, he could be the worst actor of all time in terms of being an egotistical, out of control monster that directors can't control. He is, he flirts with being as bad as Robert Downey Jr. when he was struggling with his addiction problems. But you could put in a lot of, like if it was 15 years later, into the Iceman role, you could put in, the guy, I'm just struggling with names right now. The person that played the new Batman, not Heath Ledger, who played the Joker, who played Batman opposite him. Or you could, a lot of characters you could put in and actually replace the Iceman, where Kurt Russell as, you've seen it so many times because Tombstone is run probably 100,000 times on cable TV, but Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, completely replaceable in that movie. But so that's what makes an actor. And the most irreplaceable to me is Jules as Samuel L. Jackson, and I don't like Samuel L. Jackson. His roles at all. I don't like him much for a few reasons. But his role in the Kingsman was horrible. But I'll give credit where credit's due, in that the biggest robbery of all time is him not getting the best supporting actor. So tell me about the hash bars. It's legal to buy it. It's legal. That's a guy you could have replaced. John Travolta. It's legal. And if you're a proprietor of a hash bar, it's legal to sell it. You dig it the most. I'm going, man. I'm going. John Travolta, a really, really bad actor. Great in a couple things that suits him, but people scream at me. He's replaceable in Pulp Fiction. Good in that, no doubt. I wouldn't want to replace him, but it's not the same as a Samuel L. Jackson. And then John Travolta went on to make a series of just horrible, horrible movies, like Broken Arrow. Ain't it cool? I mean, he has some roles. What is it, Battleship Earth or something like that? Where I think it's called Battleship Earth or Battle Station Earth. It's one of the worst movies ever made in Hollywood history. But anyway, guys, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Interesting to read your comments. Probably no reality breakthroughs in this one, but I guess the Matt Damon episode had to be done, and I will look forward to your comments. Thanks.